Okay, so recording is on now. So the first thing we need to do is to identify our financial period for which we are making making these accounts for. So for that, you first need to go to the required section and see what are you required to do. You're required to make just 1 year for the year ended 20x6. So that means when you refer to this as this 20x5 as your financial year, that marks the beginning of the financial year. So the two values over here, one for motor vehicles at cost and the other one for depreciation to date, they both represent your opening balances for 20x6 because these were the balances available on 31st December 20x5. And the rest of the events during 20x6, you had two disposals and one addition. That is, we will deal with the disposals later on. Addition is a simpler thing, so we are going to enter the additions in the accounts as such, and then we will have to go through the depreciation policy. That's the most important bit. So let's go through the depreciation policy. Somebody got dropped out. Okay, the depreciation is to charge on straight line method based on 5-year life and estimated residual values of 10% of the original cost. Depreciation is applied from the date of motor vehicles which are bought until they are sold. So let's see. एक तो हमारे पास हमें depreciation policy के तीन parts पता होने चाहिए ना. So depreciation policy का पहला part is the rate of depreciation in the as percentage. The second one is the method, right? And the third one is the time policy. So do we have this all information? We have the time policy. It's month by month because it says you have to calculate depreciation based on depreciation is applied over here from the date motor vehicles are bought until they are sold. That means every month of usage will be counted. Then the second part is the method. We are given the straight line method because reducing balance method के लिए आपको percentage rate जो है वो different तरीके से calculate करना होता है. Besides, the information simply says 10% of the original cost. Straight line method, 5 years, 10% of the original cost. So basically that means let me just find a space here. Okay, so whatever your cost is, assuming C is your cost, C minus 0.1 C over 5, that is your depreciation per annum in dollar values, right? This is dollar value of depreciation per annum, right? So do you agree with this formula based on the depreciation policy? Amal is asking a question. Sir, can you so the year we are concerned starts 1st of January 20x6 and finishes 31st December 20x6. Yes, yes, Amal. This is what our financial year is. And Marine says that she doesn't understand this formula. Marine, it says here, it says that depreciation is charged on motor vehicle by straight line method based on a 5-year estimated life. So we have 5 years, except, acha, okay, Marian understood. And 10% is the residual value. So cost minus residual value over 5, that is our depreciation charge. So how much does it come? Let's say if you want to sort it out, it will be 0.9 C over 5, right? And 0.9 over 5 kitna hota hai? Can anybody calculate this? 0.9 over 5, 0.18. Okay, so basically that means your depreciation, your annual depreciation in dollar value will be 0.18 C, or we can say that 18% on cost. Do you understand this part? Please give me a green check. Let me clear the feedback first. Okay, now give me a green check if you understand the percentage rate calculation under straight line method. Alina Wakas, Alina Sayed, Isha, Alina Sayed को नहीं समझ आई बेटे? Oh, अच्छा, Alina Sayed ने calculate किया था. ठीक है, Alina Sayed, very good. ठीक है. So that means we have all the three elements now. It's 18% per annum straight line method, and month by month depreciation policy. So these are the things that you need to know right away. That what is your financial year for which you are to make the accounts for. So we decided 1st of January 20x6 is when our financial year begins. 31st December 20x6 finishes. And now we have the depreciation policy. We need to have all the three components of depreciation policy. So now we have it based on the conditions given. We have 18% per annum straight line method, month by month depreciation usage. So now we can start our work. And if you want to play it even safer, then you should draw yourself a timeline. Your financial year begins, so that everything that you have concluded so far, you can bring it to in a more a linear fashion. So 31st December 20x6 is where you finish. And what is happening here, we have 30th of April, 30th of June, and 1st of October. So we have three events happening. So 30th of April, 30th of June, and 1st of October. Is it 1st of October? Yes, it is 1st of October. Okay. So these are the three events happening during the year. So 30th of April पे हमें disposal 1 हुआ था. Disposal 1 cost was, original cost was how much? The original cost was 20,000, and 1st of January 20x3. ठीक है. Cost was 28,000 on January 1st 20x3. So this is what we bought 20x3 May, and the cost was $28,000. 30th of June we had the second disposal, disposal 2. The cost was how much? Cost was 20,000 and 28,000. ठीक है, sorry. Let me change. ठीक है. Disposal 1, the related data was, the cost was 28,000 on 1st of January 20x3. Is it 20x3? 20x3 and 20x2. ठीक है. 20x3, that was the first disposal. The second disposal was, disposal 2 was, the cost was $20,000 on January 1st 20x2, right? And October 1st, the only addition, right? This was the addition, and the addition was simply your, how much? 30,000. Okay, so $30,000, right? So that is your information in a nutshell. Okay. और if I have to put it here, 18% per annum, यहाँ पर हम depreciation charge करेंगे over here, right? Over here we are going to charge depreciation, annual depreciation at 18% per annum, straight line method, and month by month usage, month by month usage. So 1, 2, and 3. So this is how you can transform your entire question on a timeline, and that will help you keep the control over information in a very effective manner. So if you have any issues with this timeline, then red cross please. If you understand all of this, the cost for the April was 20,000 and for June is 28,000. Sorry, let me just reconfirm. Oh yes, sorry, I messed up. Yes, thank you, Amal. So 28,000, this was 20,000, and this one was 28,000. Okay, thank you, Amal. So we understand how we simplify the information, and we sort of copy and paste everything on a timeline. अगर आपको एक साल की depreciation accounting करनी है, this is probably the best way of dealing with it. So you identify the financial year beginning and the end of the financial year, and identify each event on this timeline so that you will be able to calculate the number of months. So this area from this part is 3 months, sorry, 4 months. 30th of April है ना? So 4 months बनते हैं, January to April. This is, sorry, 4 months. ठीक है. This area is 30th April to 30th of June is May and June, 2 months, right? This area over here is 30th of June to 1st of October, means July and August and September, 3 months. And this area up to this point here, that is October, November, December, 3 months. So that is how 12 months are added. So 4 plus 2, 6, and 3, 9, and 3, 12, right? So this segment we only did because we are using month by month depreciation charges, right? अगर full year depreciation charges होते तो हमें ये months calculate करने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं थी. So a fresh green check, please. So now the updated timeline, do we understand? Fajr, Madiha, and Iman Badr, and Misha. Misha, yes, good. So we are required to produce the usual accounts. The only difference is since we have two disposals here happening, so we might make two disposal accounts. Yes, of course, Amar. Absolutely, Amar. That is why I'm doing this. This is not required by the answer, but you should do it on a separate space. जहाँ भी आपके पास working space होगी, वहाँ पे आप ज़रूर बनाएं इसको. The whole point is that you should do it, right? Very good. Very good. Okay, so now we start with the answers. Okay, let me just bring a fresh page here ताकि मैं दोनों देख सकूं, right? Side by side. So I hope this is not too small for you, right? Let me just see this part here. So we are required to do the motor vehicles account, the depreciation account, and motor vehicle disposal accounts. There's nothing unusual about the requirements. So we are going to have part A, vehicles account at cost. So चलो हम पूरी length पे बना लेते हैं, right? Vehicles account at cost, and then vehicles provision for depreciation account. So provision for depreciation account for vehicles. And then we have you can have two separate disposal accounts or you can have one disposal account. Okay? Vehicles disposal account. I will make one account. You can always make two separate accounts. पहले 30th of April को अलग से बना दें, फिर 30th of June को एक अलग से बना दें. It's up to you. But usually exam paper के अंदर space चूँकि limited होती है, so it's a good idea to have a combined disposal account. But generally speaking, when you are doing it in a more practical environment, every disposal account is going to be made independently. So in this question, since you have two disposals happening, one on 30th of April, the other one on 30th of June, so 30th of April को एक disposal account आप अलग से बनाएंगे, वो ख़त्म हो जाएगा, फिर 30th of June को एक अलग से बनाएंगे. इसी तरह जितने भी disposals होते जाएंगे, आप हर एक के लिए अपना अपना एक अलग account बनाएंगे. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to make both these disposals. I will merge them into one account. So we start with the opening balances. We already have identified the balance brought downs. So balance brought down for vehicle, it is how much? Vehicles का balance brought down. You should refer to your book because your font size बहुत छोटा होगा. I can see it clearly, but you probably can't. So you should refer to the book. So 9.7, the vehicles have the balance brought down of $140,000. The date will be 1st of January 20x6, right? And at the same day, right, this was our balance brought down. And at the same day, we had a balance brought down for our provision for depreciation given as well. So 1st of January 20x6, we have our balance brought down. And the amount given for that is $56,000. We agree? Give me a green check. up to this point, right? Step by step. Okay, so one thing at a time. So you transferred your entire question onto a timeline, understood everything in context, and then we are going to just place the opening balances. Iman Badr doesn't understand. It's okay. I will explain. Alicia and Hadia and Misha. अच्छा लास्ट क्लास के अंदर अटेंडेंस कम थी. There were 4 people absent. So obviously you guys are going to have a lot of trouble if you did not take the class and you did not even see the recording. So please do not miss any classes, because the more you miss, it will be difficult for you to understand following topics. Okay, don't do that. All right. Let me just bring it here. Iman, the balance brought down is the amount which is given here. You can see it says on 31st December 20x5, you had vehicles costing $140,000 and the total depreciation to date is $56,000. So ये last year की जो कि 20x5 का reference दिया हुआ है, so ये last year की depreciation, last year का data है. So last year के closing balances become the opening balances of the current year. So that's why we have put these two values as balance brought down here. So Iman, we understand?
Yes, sir. I was only confused about the date.
I see. Okay, great. So now we will refer to the information. The first information according to the timeline, we have started our work from this point here, right? So we have started here, and after 4 months of the beginning, we had our first disposal. So this one, disposal. So before we incorporate the disposal value, we need to update our existing accounts. जब भी डिस्पोजल होता है, जो जितने भी अमाउंट में आपने उसको व्हीकल को बेचा है, वो बात की बात है. पहला पार्ट जो होता है वो ये होता है कि आपके पास जो एग्जिस्टिंग वैल्यूज हैं, ये वाली, राइट, इन वैल्यूज में से आपने उस पर्टिकुलर एसेट की डिप्रिसिएशन सब्ट्रैक्ट करनी है, और इसमें से इस वैल्यू में से कॉस्ट सब्ट्रैक्ट करनी है, और इस वैल्यू में से इसकी डिप्रिसिएशन सब्ट्रैक्ट करनी है, राइट. बट सिंस आवर डिप्रिसिएशन पॉलिसी इज our depreciation policy is month to month depreciation charges. So before we initiate the disposal proceedings, we must charge depreciation for the period of time this asset was used before it was sold. So we know that from 1st of January to 30th of April, we have used this asset for 4 months. So we need to charge depreciation for 4 months for this part first. So how much the depreciation would be? We have the depreciation policy, 18% per annum, straight line method, and month by month depreciation charge. That is our depreciation policy. So what is the depreciation charge for here for these 4 months? So the cost was $20,000 for that asset जो आपने बेचा है. आपने उसका 18% per annum calculate करना है, right? And you have to calculate 4 months out of the 12. Which comes out to be, Alicia says it's $1,200. Please reconfirm. Thank you, Alicia. Let your friends reconfirm this value. $20,000, 18% per annum, 4 by 12. Misha confirms. Thank you, Asma. Thank you, Misha. Amal. Thank you. Everyone, thank you, Mary. So we understand why we use $20,000 over here. Because the asset we are selling costs $20,000, and straight line method depreciation charge means the depreciation rate will be applied on the cost of the asset, right? So that comes out to be $1,200, right? So this asset, this vehicle that we have just sold, was used for 4 months. And since it was used for 4 months, and our depreciation policy is that we are going to charge month by month depreciation, so we must apply depreciation first before we start the disposal procedures, and that is $1,200. But obviously, this $1,200 is calculated over here on the timeline. We have to bring it within the double entry system. So how do we bring it inside the double entry system? You can I'm sure you will agree with this, that this is going to go to the income statement, the depreciation charge on whatever we can refer to as nickname vehicle 1, जो भी vehicle थी, and we will charge $1,200. This entry did not happen in the question that you sorry, not in the question that we did in the last class. 9.5 में नहीं था, हमने ऐसा नहीं किया था. वो हमने ऐसा क्यों नहीं किया था? क्योंकि उस क्वेश्चन के अंदर the depreciation policy had a full year depreciation charge. That means no depreciation in the year of disposal. That is why we did not do that. But the assignment question that you have sent last night, and this particular question, and 9.3 and as well, जो हमने किया था, इन सब में proportionate to usage depreciation थी, या month by month depreciation charge exist करता था. And that is why before you dispose of anything, you must calculate the number of months for which that asset was used for, and then charge the proportionate depreciation before disposal double entries are deployed. So we understand this part. This depreciation charge will happen on April 30th, 20x6. Give me a green check if you understand this depreciation entry. This is not the usual depreciation charge that we are more familiar with. This is just done because our month by month depreciation policy demands that we should have ओके फजर को नहीं समझ आई, मिनाल को नहीं समझ आई, महरीन को नहीं समझ आई बेटे? फजर को आ गई, मिनाल, महरीन आपको नहीं समझ आई बेटे? अच्छा, महरीन का क्वेश्चन है, since we have disposed of the asset, we not going to decrease the depreciation? Yes, we will, but we will do that, Mahrin. But before we do that, we need to first account for the number of months this asset was used. अभी disposal procedure start नहीं हुए, अभी होने. अभी हम सिर्फ ये काम कर रहे हैं कि चूंकि ये एसेट डिस्पोज ऑफ होने से पहले 4 मंथ्स यूज़ हुआ था, तो हमें उन 4 मंथ्स की डिप्रिसिएशन जो है उसको अकाउंट फॉर करना है. अभी हमने डिस्पोजल प्रोसीजर्स इनिशिएट करने हैं, अभी नहीं हुआ. जो आप बात कर रहे हैं वो डिस्पोजल प्रोसीजर्स का हिस्सा है. दीज प्रोसीजर्स आर गोइंग टू बी इनिशिएटेड राइट नाउ. सो वी अंडरस्टैंड, मैरी? Yes, yes, we are going to decrease it by transferring the amount to the disposal account. That part is yet to come. Just hang in there. All right? Good. Now, as Mehreen has mentioned in the text box, now we are going to transfer the depreciation charges from these accounts. So we need to make subtractions or deletions. So that means this over here, we will have an entry, a transfer entry, transfer to disposal. And in this case, this will be depreciation, the total accumulated depreciation on disposed of vehicle. जो भी आपकी आती है वो हम यहाँ पे हम कैलकुलेट करेंगे. अभी हमें नहीं पता वो कितनी है, हमें कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगी. And we also need to make another transfer from here, transfer to disposal account, right? And this will be the cost of vehicle disposed of. Since this account is representing the cost of all the assets, so यहाँ से जो हम transfer to disposal account करेंगे, that will represent the cost of the vehicle. And since this other account, provision for depreciation account, represents accumulated depreciation, so over here, whatever value we need to transfer to disposal account, that will represent the accumulated depreciation on that disposed of asset, right? So this is the easier bit here. What are we going to subtract over here? We are going to look for the cost, and the cost of the asset was $20,000 if I am not mistaken. Let me just see the timeline here. Yes, it was $20,000, right? So we are going to transfer $20,000 on 30th of April 20x6, and this entry over here will be transferred from the credit side to the debit side on disposal account. We'll have transferred from vehicles account $20,000 on 30th of April. Oops, sorry. 30th of April. So if we understand the first transfer, give me a green check. Amal, Iman Badr, a green check if you understood the first transfer, right? Amal ka internet probably is not working. All right. Now comes the second transfer. The second transfer is from the provision for depreciation account here, this amount, and this will be transferred to the disposal account here, right? But what value comes over here is the total accumulated depreciation on this particular van, which is being disposed of, right? So that value is not given, right? That value is not given here. You can see we do have the idea that it was bought on 1st of January 20x3. So we can always calculate that. And when we have to go back and find, because 20x3 means 3 years ago, right? So when we have to calculate depreciations from the past, the total depreciations from the past, it's always a good idea to draw a depreciation schedule. So we start with the same thing. Cost was, we get this asset's cost was $20,000, right? So first depreciation must have been charged on, this was 1st of January, this was bought on 1st of January. Let me just make it a little proper way. So cost on 1st of January 20x3, that was $20,000, right? So the first depreciation must be, on 31st December 20x3, right? And that must be 18% per annum, which will come out to be $1,600 if I'm correct. Please verify this value. Yes, Alicia, we will make the depreciation schedule, and we are making one right now. Every time we have to go back and calculate the depreciations from the past, it's always a good idea to make the depreciation schedule. But in this case, we're just going to make it for one particular asset. Okay, so 20,000 minus $1,600, how much is that? Acha, sorry, $3,600? Yes, sorry, I might. $3,600, and that will give you how much? Thank you, Asma. Thank you, Iman Badr. Thank you, Alina Sayed. 16,400. Very well. अमल ने काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें मिस कर दी हैं, but luckily we have recorded this lesson, so Amal can always watch it later. Okay, let her join. Okay, Amal has joined. So $16,400, right? Then comes the second year's depreciation, right? That must have been charged on 31st of December 20x4, which should be the same $3,600, right? And that will make the net book value whatever. And then 31st of December depreciation, third depreciation must have been charged on 31st of December 20x5. Chunke straight line method hai, so the net book values over here will not be playing any important role. So you can skip the net book value. अगर ये reducing balance method होता फिर आपको net book values की ज़रूरत पड़ती अगली depreciation calculate करने के लिए. लेकिन चूंकि straight line method है, we know 3,600 remains constant over years, so we can skip that part, but you can always calculate it if you want to. So another $3,600, right? And then comes the last year. यहाँ पे इसकी फिर से net book value आ जाएगी. And then there is a fourth depreciation that we charged on April the 30th, 20x6 this year. Remember this part here, this part. This is what we have charged finally here, $1,200, right? So that was your final depreciation charge on this asset. So what should be the overall net book value? It's a good idea to calculate net book values because later on you will take this, use it as a hint for how much profit or loss you had made. So $8,000 and $5,600. We have two different values coming over here in the chat box. Could you please tell me what is the, okay, let's go in step. What is the net book value here? 16,400 minus 3,600. It must be 12,800, I guess. 12,800, right? And then, is it 12,800? Can you please check the net book value over here? Yep. And then the next net book value would be 9,200. Thank you. And then it will be Alina. Thank you, Alina. Alina, Alicia, Amal. And then finally, 9,200 minus 1,200 is 5,600. And 8,000, sorry, 8,000, right? So that is the depreciation schedule for this particular van. Now you can either add all of these depreciations to find the total accumulated depreciation on this asset, or you can take this and you can take this value, and we know this is your cost, this is your net book value. So the distance between these two values must be the accumulated depreciation. So you can use, this is far easier to calculate the total depreciation. So we can say easily that our total depreciation must be $12,000. You can justify this $12,000 by adding all of these depreciations together, right? So $12,000 is the accumulated depreciation on this van. So what are we going to do now? We are going to take $12,000 from here, and we will transfer this $12,000 to the disposal account, completing the double entry on the credit side, transferred from the provision for depreciation account, right? And that would be $12,000. So the two transfer entries are done. Do you agree with this figure, this calculation? Right? Let me just make it a little bigger. Give me a green check if you understand the problem so far. Alicia, Hadia Rizwan, Iman Badr, Atiha, and Misha. Very good. Okay, so we have successfully removed the traces of the disposed of van from our existing permanent accounts. These are your permanent accounts. इन permanent account में से आपको पहले उस asset से related जो भी data था वहाँ से remove कर देना है और वो आपने transfer कर दिया. अब हम आते हैं finally उसको कितने amount में आपने dispose of किया था, so that we can calculate the profit or loss on disposal. So we could, where is it? ये तो 9.8 है, sorry, ये 9.7 है. So 9.7, we sold first van for $3,800. We are done with this transfer, and we have already done the depreciation transfer. So now comes this $3,800. It doesn't say, it simply says disposal proceeds. So it could mean yes, अभी आते हैं अमल, Alicia, अभी आते हैं profit or loss calculation पे, right? ठीक है, I'll come, since I'm making a combined account, so probably we are going to use 31st December once after all the disposal entries are transferred. I'll come to that. ठीक, so 3,800 disposal proceeds, it doesn't say anything कि आपने cash में उसको बेचा था या credit पे बेचा था, so you can assume anything. So we will put here $3,800. We can write cash or bank because it doesn't say anything about 30th April 20x6, 30th April 20x6. So we can leave it here. Okay. Now, one way is we balance this account, get the profit or loss on disposal, transfer it to the income statement at the end of the year, make a fresh disposal account for the second disposal. We can do that, but we can play safe now here because we have another disposal coming up after that, and we are going to follow the same procedures, and I'm going to do it once at the end of the year. Remember, it's not always, but it's not a must that you should always do it like this. You can always make separate disposal account for every individual disposal. But right now, I'm showing you the way. इसके अंदर आप कम टाइम के अंदर और कम space involve करेंगे और you'll be able to produce this answer. So it comes the second disposal now. Let me just bring the proceedings here. Now this second disposal here, it was done on 30th of June, right? Amal, the date will be 31st December for the accumulated depreciation. No, Amal, 30th of April, because this asset will cease to exist by 31st of December when it comes. All right? मैंने अभी देखा आपका question, sorry. The date will remain 30th of April. Okay? Right. 31st of December को हम बाकी के एसेट के ऊपर डिप्रिसिएशन चार्ज करेंगे और अकाउंट्स को क्लोज करेंगे और इनकम स्टेटमेंट ट्रांसफर्स करेंगे. Right? For now, this remains 30th of April. Right? Now the second disposal happening on 30th of June, and 30th of June तक पहुंचते हुए आपने 4 months ये और 2 months ये 6 months आपने इस asset को use किया. So that is 6 months period before this asset was sold, right? Disposal to happen. So we are again going to do the same thing. We will first create a depreciation charge. Let me do it like this. Over here, this is the depreciation charge, 6 months, right? So we are calculating 18% of $28,000 since it's a depreciation, straight line method of depreciation, multiplied by 6 over 12. That is going to be your depreciation for the second vein. Alicia, thank you. 2520. Please, everyone confirm. 2520. $18,000 of 28,000, 18% of $28,000, and 6 months out of 12 months. 2520. Amal, thank you, Alicia Amal, and confirm 2520. That is the depreciation charge on that second vehicle before it was disposed of. Thank you, Alina Sayed. Okay, so we will not start our disposal proceedings unless we record this depreciation charge first. So on the 30th of April के बाद on 30th of June, we are going to record this second depreciation charge, income statement for second vehicle. And that was 2520, sorry. So unless we account for the time period for which these vans were used, we will not initiate the disposal proceedings. So we have done that. Now we will start with the disposal proceedings. And what do we mean by disposal proceedings? That means you're going to start with these transfers, जैसे ये यहाँ पे transfer हुआ और ये यहाँ पे transfer हुआ और फिर finally उसकी जो भी disposal proceeds थी वो यहाँ पे place कर देंगे आप, right? So we are going to initiate the disposal proceedings. So we are going to make 2 transfers. The first transfer from the cost account, the second transfer from the accumulated depreciation or provision for depreciation account. So the cost account transfer is simple because all we have to do is put the value there. Cost value is already given. So we'll put 30th of June here, 20x6. Okay, we will transfer to disposal account. That is the second vehicle's cost, right? The cost was $28,000. So we are going to take this $28,000 and we are going to transfer here again, just like the previous one. So 30th of June, 20x6, we will make another second transfer from vehicles for the second disposal, $28,000, right? Then we need the second vehicles disposals total accumulated depreciation, just like the last one we transferred from here, this one here. Now we need to calculate another value here to be subtracted. And since this is an old vehicle and we need to go back in time to find out all the depreciation charges related to that, so for that we need to make the depreciation schedule. So this $28,000 vehicle, we are going to calculate there. So cost at 1st Jan 20x2. This was bought a year before. एक साल पुरानी vehicle है, disposal one से. So this is $28,000. The first depreciation charge must be on 31st December 20x2, right? And that must be 18%. और चूंकि ये भी 1st of January को आपने acquire की थी, is it acquired on 1st of January? Yes, दोनों vans 1st of January को acquire हुई, as you can see here. So that means in the first year of their lives, they were depreciated for the entire year. So how much would 18% of 28,000 would be? 5040. Thank you, Alicia. 5040. And the net book value comes out to be whatever. Then second depreciation must have been charged on 31st of December 20x3, which was another 5040 because it's a full year depreciation. It's a straight line method depreciation charge, so this will remain constant. The net book value gets updated. Then the third year's depreciation must be on 31st December 20x4, right? Which would again be a full year depreciation charge, whatever the updated net book value comes. Then the fourth year depreciation 4 is on 20x5, 31st December, another full year depreciation charge. And finally, we reached depreciation 5, which was in on 30th of June 20x6. This is our current date. So we have to continue to extend these depreciation schedules until you hit the final date in the life of that asset. So 30th of June 20x6 pay, we depreciated this asset for 2520. So if you have been updating the net book values, then please give me the final net book value here, this part. And 22,680 is the total depreciation charge. Alina, Asma Sayyid says, Asma Wasim says, Alina says 5320, Alicia says 5320 is the net book value final. And now, what is the total accumulated depreciation? Now we see this is a much easier way of calculating total accumulated depreciation. Rather than having to add them all, you make a mistake on the calculator. So a much easier way would be calculating these net book values one by one and then finally arriving at this. जितनी continuous calculations आप करेंगे उतना ज़्यादा chances है कि आप उस process में किसी गलत key को hit कर देंगे and you will end up getting a wrong calculation. So the answer verified, Alicia and Alina Sayed, 22,680. So the total accumulated depreciation comes out to be, यहाँ पे total accumulated depreciation was 12,000. And यहाँ पर accumulated depreciation is 22,680, right? So this one here, now 22,680 is what we will be transferring from this account to the disposal account, and we'll write simply transfer to disposal account, right? This was done on April 30th. This is done on June 30th, 20x6, right? So now we are going to make the second transfer here. This is going to be transferred here, right? So 22,680. This is transferred from provision for depreciation account, right? So our figures are done here. The original transfers are done. Now we have to just put the disposal proceeds there. The disposal proceeds are that's you. So 28,000 has been transferred. Accumulated depreciation was transferred, and now this 4920, which is your disposal proceeds. So we are going to bring it down here, 4920, right? So 30th of June here, and then again 30th of June, cash or bank, which is 49, was it 4920? Yeah, 4920. All right. So this is the situation up to the current point. So looking at all these entries, hopefully you're doing it alongside. So if you're done with all these and if you understand all of these calculation and the working, I will show the working साथ साथ. There you are. Yeah, there you go. So if you understand both these pages, then please give me a green check up to this point. We understand why we had to do this, ताकि हम accumulated depreciation की values निकाल सकें. We understand why we had to do this before disposal proceedings begin, because you don't want to leave out the number of months of usage of those assets before these were disposed of. And then these transfer entries here. Okay, so now we have reached, we started our journey from 1st of January, we reached 30th of April, we've done the first disposal. We have reached 30th of June, we've done the second disposal. Now we have, that's our third stop, 1st of October, we bought a $30,000 costing van. So that is what we are going to now record here. $30,000 here on the debit side, October the 1st, right, 20x6. This is going to be your cash or bank. क्योंकि आपके पास नहीं बताया हुआ कि आपने credit पे खरीदी है, cash पे खरीदी है, so you're free to make your own assumptions. Yes, Amal, since I was just about to explain that. Since over here, you don't know whether you paid for it or it was on credit, so you are free to make your own assumptions. Same goes here. The disposal proceeds over here, this one, sorry, this one and this one, you're just simply told these are disposal proceeds. So disposal proceeds का मतलब है कि this is what the exchange value of this vehicle was. So it could mean you probably sold it for cash. It could mean you probably sold it on credit. But since we have no way of verifying the fact, so we can exercise our own assumption. We think that it's sold for cash, right? Because that is normally the non-current assets are sold for, right? So we understand, Amal? Okay. Same goes with the acquisition of the new asset. ये जो नई additions आप करें 30,000 का, we are not told whether this was purchased through cash or bank or on credit. So we are exercising our own assumption over here because that is what normally is done. Non-current assets are usually acquired paying cash or checks. All right. Now we have reached we 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 have we reached up till here, and there is no more calculations involved. Now we have reached 31st of December. And what do we do on 31st of December? We'll look for remaining assets. We will charge the depreciation on 31st of December. And then we are going to close down the accounts. How do we close down the accounts? The permanent accounts will have a balance carried down. These two will have, these are the permanent accounts. These will have a carried down balance and will be transferred to the next year. And the temporary account, this disposal account, will not have a carried down balance, but whatever the balancing figure comes out, that will represent the overall gain or loss on the two disposals. So वो हम income statement में transfer कर देंगे and this will be written off. So let's start in order. So let's calculate the balances here. Oh, sorry. Let's calculate the depreciation here because that is in order. पहले हम depreciation charge करेंगे यहाँ पर और फिर हम accounts को close down करना शुरू कर देंगे. So how do we calculate depreciation? We need to know how many assets do we have. So we have 140,000 starting with. We started off with 140,000 costing assets. We disposed of these two assets during the year and we bought this new asset, right? These two assets, before these were disposed of, their depreciation has already been recorded and calculated here. So we don't really have to worry about their depreciations. वो हम already calculate कर चुके हैं. It's only the remaining assets hidden here in this $140,000 and the $30,000 new asset that we have bought. This is something that still needs to be depreciated. The asset that you sold, they have already been depreciated and the depreciation charges have been included here. So keeping this in mind, we start with our calculation. So we started with 140,000, that is working two. These are your working, sorry, that's your working one, that's your working two, and that's your working three, because these are the main workings examiners will be interested in, right? That how you come across these values, depreciation charges here and here. So you will give them proper working titles. And this is the third one. So you start with $140,000, right? And you add $30,000, right? That is your, okay, let me just make it separately. So you have $140,000, right? And out of those $140,000, $48,000 disposal has been recorded, and that has already been considered. So that will give you how much? 140,000 minus 48,000. That will give you 92,000, I think. Is it 92,000? 140 minus 48. Can you calculate? Okay, it's $92,000. So we have $92,000 worth of costing assets which still exist and were used for the entire 12 months. So $92,000 times 18% times 12 over 12, right? And then in addition to that, we had another parallel $30,000 costing new asset, which was bought on 1st of October, and that will be depreciated as 18% times 3 over 12, right? So what are these values? Can you tell me? So you have your overall assets divided into two categories. $92,000 worth of assets have been used for the entire year, and $30,000 costing assets have been used for just 3 months. 16,560 for 92,000, Alina, thank you. 16,560 comes here, and 5,400 comes here, right? Thank you, Alina Sayed, Alisha, thank you. And that gives us our total, which is 21,000. How much? 21,960, is it? 21,960, good. So this is our depreciation charge for the current year. That's your working three. You're free to show workings in any way you like. So that's how 21,960 will be calculated. And this is the actual depreciation charge, the usual depreciation charge that we are familiar with. That happens on 31st of December 20x6. We will have our final depreciation charge, depreciation on
Excuse me, sir.
GBT.
The 5,400 is for 12 months, not for 3 months.
Oh, okay. Please fix this value.
It's
5,000.
1350.
1350. All agree. Thank you, Asma. Alina, who was that? Amal, thank you. Asma, thank you, Asma. 1350. Very good.
And total 1791.
17
910.
910. Thank you, Asma. 17,910. That is the value. Thank you. Before we made a mistake. So this is the depreciation on the remaining assets, 17,910, right? So now looking at the credit side of this depreciation account, you see the credit side, you have three depreciation charges taking place during the year. And that is only when month by month depreciation happens. Because अगर हम full year depreciation observe कर रहे होते तो फिर हमें number of months के बारे में worry करने की ज़रूरत नहीं थी. We would have completely bypassed this calculation, right? But since month by month depreciation charge is there, so that is why we had to calculate the number of months depreciations before those assets were disposed of. So these three, this is for depreciation charge on first vehicle, this is the depreciation charge on the second vehicle, and this is the depreciation charge on all the remaining assets, which will happen on 31st of December. So we understand depreciation charge at the end of the year, that is the working It's a bit of a complicated working, but we need to understand the working. Since we started off with $140,000 of asset, and out of those, 48,000 costing asset were disposed of, so that leaves the remaining asset $92,000, which are still in use and which were used for the entire 12 months in the current year. So that is why we calculated this depreciation like that. And the other asset which is still in existence is $30,000 costing asset that we bought on 1st of October 2026. And since this was only used for 3 months before the end of the year, so we only charge 3 months depreciation, and that is our current year's depreciation charge, which we bring down here, right? So we agree. Give me a green check, please. If you understood the depreciation workings. Very good, Fajr and Iman Badr, Madiha and Minal Iqbal. Madiha, very good. Okay, so we have reached the end of the year. Depreciation charges have been done. So the only thing now left is balancing these accounts. So we are going to balance these accounts. So this is 170,000, the bigger side. So 170,000 minus 48,000, how much is that? 122,000. Thank you, Asma. 122,000. Date will be 31st of December 20x6. And then after you calculate the balance carried down, you must show it as balance brought down here. मेरे पास जगह खत्म हो गई, but you should show it balance brought down 1st of January 20x7, right? Make sure you put the correct date, 1st of January 20x7. So the permanent accounts are going to be closed down by calculating the balance carried down to be brought forward in the next year. This is also, provision for depreciation is also a permanent account. So we are going to close it down. In this case, the credit side is bigger side. So can you please tell me the total here and the balance here? Balance carried down for provision for depreciation, please. This is the balance carried down, 77,360, right? I hope this is the balance carried down, not the total. Acha, this is the total. Okay, this is the total. This is the total 77,630 here, and 77,630 here, and the balance carried down comes out to be what? 42,950, and that balance carried down is going to be brought down on 1st of January in the next year. So the two permanent accounts are closed down. And how do we close down the permanent accounts? We always close them down by bringing the balance brought down from the carried down balance. We calculate the carried down balance and we bring it down, bring it forward to the next year. But this is not a permanent account. This is just a situational account. We only need it for the disposal circumstances. So the purpose is now fulfilled. So what are we going to do now? We will see the balancing figure, and that balancing figure will not be labeled as balance carried down, but that balancing figure represents the gain or loss on disposal on both of these vehicles combined. Remember, you could make these two disposal accounts separately as well, which probably is the case with the next question. Your homework question requires disposal account on only one of the two vans. So you can just make two separate disposal accounts if you want to, right? But over here, we are just playing simple. So what is the total? Which side is greater? 4,600 loss, Asma says. So the total is greater here, 48,000, that means. So the balancing figure comes out to be here, right? And Asma says it's 4,600 loss. Can anyone else confirm the same? 48,000 minus 12,000 minus 38, 3,800 minus 22680 minus 4980. There are lots of calculations. Be careful. 4,600 Alina as well. Thank you. So 4,600. Yes, Alicia also agrees. Right, excellent. So this, hopefully it is on the credit side here, right? This on the credit side. This, the debit side is bigger and the credit side is smaller. That's why the $4,600 is coming here, right? So whatever profit or loss this is, we are going to transfer to income statement. And for our reference, we'll say it's a loss. And the date now, you can, since you are making a combined account, you can't have two different dates over here. So this combined profit or loss will be calculated on 31st of December 20x6, right? But if you had made separate accounts, as in व्हीकल 1 का सेपरेट डिस्पोजल अकाउंट बनता और व्हीकल 2 का सेपरेट डिस्पोजल अकाउंट बनता, तो फिर आपके पास ऑप्शन थी कि आप उस पर 30th April, 30th of June या 31st December even. You could even put that date. So we understand a separate disposal account is basically no biggie. It's just the same thing distributed and the date is optional. आप 30th April की भी इनकम स्टेटमेंट ट्रांसफ़र कर सकते थे, 30th of June को भी कर सकते थे और December 31st को भी लिख सकते थे, बिकॉज वो सारा का सारा डेटा आप सेपरेट हो गया. बट जब आप कंबाइंड अकाउंट बना रहे हैं तो कंबाइंड अकाउंट के अंदर you'll have to have just one date here, and that can't be 30th of April or 30th of June. That has to be one date. In that case, we'll have to choose 31st of December. All right, so this is done. This is done now. So please let me just make it like this. So complete ho gaya. So now if you understand everything, part A, B, C तीनों बन गया हमारे, then give me a green check. And if you still don't understand, I understand this involves a lot of calculations. I understand that. But remember, if you do these questions again on your own, you're going to be fairly comfortable with that, right? So shuru mein it is daunting, but as you spend more and more practice hours, it will be easy procedure for you. Fajr, we don't understand bete. Oh, फिर से आज 10 minutes ऊपर हो गए, sorry. Anyway, so you can leave now and stay back if you need to ask a question.
Excuse me, sir.
जी बेटे.
Why did we subtract 48,000 from the accumulated depreciation?
Why did we subtract 48,000? Oh, yeah, this one. Okay, right. Okay, let me show this parallel to this. So you see here, this 48,000, 140,000, right? We need to know that how many, we have one asset here, this one, right? We have this 30,000 here and this 30,000. ये इसकी बात हो रही है, ठीक है ना? Right? लेकिन what about the other assets which are still in existence, which was 140,000, right? So out of 140,000,
Yes.
$48,000 assets have been sold. So they don't exist anymore. So what exists now? $140,000 total started with, and 48,000 assets were disposed of. So that means out of the older assets, you still have $92,000 costing assets in existence. And in addition to those older assets in existence, you have a new asset in existence, $30,000. Yep.
But sir, हमने already credit side पे लिख दिया हुआ है, तो वो compensate नहीं हो जाएगा?
हमने ऑलरेडी क्रेडिट साइड पे लिख दिया हुआ है. अच्छा, चलो हम ऐसे कर लेते हैं. आप कह रहे हो कि इस 140,000 में से ये 20,000 हमने ऑलरेडी क्रेडिट कर दिया. अगर आप 122,000 से शुरू करें तो फिर आप ये कह सकते हैं, आप ये कह सकते हैं कि, let me just show it here, that if your assets at the end of the year 122,000 है, so do you agree that is 122,000, do you understand that this balance carried down over here means whatever assets that you still own, yes or no?
Yes.
So out of 122,000, we know that 30,000 costing asset was just bought. So what about the remaining $92,000 costing asset? वो आपके पुराने वाले assets है ना?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good, good. Chalo, see you. Khuda Hafiz.